Hello YouTube, my name is Tyler and this is my September wrap up. So I vlog every week and I give my detailed thoughts about these books that I read. So if you're intrigued by any of these books or why my rating is what it is, I would encourage you to go check out my vlogs because I talk about them more in detail there. So I'll tell you what books I read this month, and then there will be a couple of little stats and things, and then an announcement at the end. So I managed to read 4 books every week this month, which is really quite something. I'm really finding a little like groove with my reading. So the books I read this month are Black Hole by Charles Burns, gave that 3 stars. That was a graphic novel. Magma by Thóra, hjörleifsdóttir, which I gave 4 stars. Sandy Hook in an American Tragedy in the Battle for Truth by Elizabeth Williamson, 3 stars. Other Terrors, an inclusive anthology, 5 stars. Black Clan, and that was edited by Vince A. Liaguno and Rena Mason. Black Klansman, Race, Hate, and the Undercover Investigation of a Lifetime by Ron Stallworth, 3 stars. The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, 4 stars. Boys Run the Riot by keito, gaku, 3 stars. Without a Prayer, The Death of Lucas Leonard and How One Church Became a Cult by Susan Ashline, 3 stars. Gudetama, Mindfulness for the Lazy by wook-jin, 3 stars. The Gathering Dark, an anthology of folk horror, 3 stars. That's edited by Tori, bovalino. I keep skipping the editors. Capitalist Realism, Is There No Alternative by Mark Fisher, 3 stars. Scoundrel, How a Convicted Murderer Persuaded the Woman Who Loved Him, the Conservative Establishment, and the Courts to Set Him Free by Sarah Weinman, 3 stars. How to Keep House While Drowning, and a Gentle Approach to Cleaning and Organizing by K.C. Davis, 5 stars. The Long Walk by Stephen King, 3 stars. Adverbs by Daniel Handler, 2 stars. Republic of Lies, American Conspiracy Theorist, and Their Surprising Rise to Power by Anna Merlan, 4 stars. So that ends up being 16 books I read this month, which, you know, is pretty good. Especially, I read 18 the month before that, and then I think 12 or 14 the month before last month. I can't even think of month names right now. So I'm like in the double digits just about every month now, which is really quite something. So 16 books. I didn't DNF any books this month because of the Bookopoly, so I ended up not DNFing anything because I just didn't want to like figure out how to deal with like new roles and stuff like that if I DNF'd something. My averages were like 5.5 days per book, which is really something. I had quite a few like books that I just read in like one sitting or like just in one day, so that really brought down my averages. Come here, Tiger Cat. I usually average around like 6 or 7 days per book, so that's pretty good. And then my star rating was 3.4 stars, which is pretty good for me, considering there was a week where I only read 3 stars. So yeah, like there was one week where every book I read was 3 stars. So there's that. My TBR stats, my physical TBR shelf has decreased from 18 to 16 books. That's because I was really prioritizing that with Bookopoly. So I was reading stuff that I physically had, whether that was library books or books that I actually owned. So there's that. And then, you know, I bought books this month too. However, the Goodreads TBR shelf has increased. This is partially because since I was doing Bookopoly, it was a lot easier to try and figure out what to read for a prompt if literally every single book I was interested in existed on my TBR shelf. So books that I usually like would not add to my TBR shelf, that I would kind of just like let sit in my head and if I had the opportunity to read it, I would read it, but like it wasn't actually enough of a priority to add to my TBR shelf. I made a point of adding those to my Goodreads shelf this month just because I never knew what prompt I would get and whether that book would fit the prompt or not. So I wanted to make sure I had as many options as possible. So my Goodreads TBR shelf went from 118 books to 123. I definitely read a lot off of it though. It was into the 30s, 130s at one point this month. So I have been reading it. I just like added a bunch to it this month. So there is that. So let's talk about what was good and what was bad this month. I had 2 5-star reads this month. One was Other Terrors, the anthology, the inclusive anthology. This is really funny because Kayla actually hated this and she said it was like one of the worst anthologies she had ever read. And how everything just felt very, I can't remember how she described it, but like basically pedestrian, basically. I really liked it. This is like one of the only anthologies I have actually loved. I had a great time with it. There were a lot of new authors that I ended up checking out. And while a bunch of them just like really only write short stories, and I don't think I'm gonna be buying short story collections just for certain authors, you know, it was still exciting to discover new authors to check out, and if they ever put out like full-length novels, I'll check them out. But then I read a different horror anthology, The Gathering Dark, which I really did not like that much. I gave it 3 stars because there were a couple in there that were like okay, but there was not a single 5-star story in The Gathering Dark for me. It just like took forever to read, and I kind of gave it 3 stars because it ended up being like a YA anthology, and I just didn't realize that when I picked it up. If I had known that it was YA authors, I wouldn't have picked it up because just YA is not my cup of tea anymore. Like I'm just too old to really enjoy it at this point. Not to say that like grown adults can't enjoy YA. If you like YA, more power to you. It's just like not my thing anymore. So yeah. And then the other 5-star read I had was How to Keep House While Drowning, which is also a surprising 5-star because I typically hate self-help. I'll listen to some occasionally, but they almost always end up being 3 stars, 2 stars. Like I really hated the life-changing art of tidying up or whatever the Marie Kondo book is. I hated that. So most of it like just does not work for me, but like I don't know if I would say I keep trying, but like, I don't know, sometimes something just grabs my attention and I'm like, maybe I'll get something out of that. And most of the time I don't, but I really, really liked this. This is just like a really nice pick me up in a strange way, and just like helping to be kind to yourself if you're struggling. And finding the ways to do what you can when you can, basically. So I really enjoy that. Both my 5-star reads this month were typical books that I don't typically enjoy. It kind of shows that like sometimes it's worth reading the stuff you don't think you're gonna like. And sometimes you find a gem, a diamond in the rough. So I'm really glad I picked up both of those and enjoyed them. So the lowest rated book I read this month was Adverbs by Daniel Handler. I really don't have much to say about it because I just like did not grasp or retain anything about that book. It just didn't work for me. It was also kind of short story-esque, which is probably part of the reason it didn't work for me. I guess it was like vignettes, I guess is how it would be described. And they're like supposed to connect and they're all in the same universe, but like, I just didn't get it. I couldn't keep track of the characters or what was going on or who was connected to who. Like, this is basically the same review I gave in my vlog, which you'll see next week. It just didn't work for me. But I've been reading a whole bunch of Daniel Handler's work. I think I might only have 1 or 2 books left that he's published that I haven't read yet. So like, it is what it is. I read it. It's fine that I read it. Okay, so just a little wrap up on Bookopoly. I did 12 rolls. I finished 11 of the 12 books. I am still working on White is for Witching. That will be the only book I am carrying over from Bookopoly into October. I'm enjoying it just fine. Not really sure if I know 100% what's going on, but the vibes are good, so I'm not having a bad time. I am also carrying over an audiobook that is like a memoir called The Glass Castle, that I'm pretty sure I got from Cindy's. She did a vlog about like books similar to I'm Glad My Mom Died. And I'm pretty sure that was a recommendation in there. So I'm just listening to that because United States of Paranoia did not have an audiobook, and that's really what I wanted to listen to. So anyways, let's move on to the announcement. Okay, so I had to kick a cat out because he kept messing with the tripod. So if the angle is very different, I apologize. The announcement is I will be doing Booktrovertbingo through the end of the year. This was posted by that Audrey over at Chapter and Converse. Created for the end of the year. It's October through December. The video just popped up on my what to watch page or whatever it's called. And it just seemed like fun. It's a lot less stressful, strenuous than Bookopoly. I'm not like going to be creating TBRs to hit bingos or anything. I'm just going to read and see if I can do the bingo board. There's a whole bunch of bingos, books, and when I watched her video, it seemed like stuff that already like I'm naturally inclined to read. I wouldn't necessarily have to push myself too much to read these books. So it's more so just to see like how many of these books can I read and can I actually get bingo. So I just thought that would be a little bit of fun, just a little bit of something. I'll probably do some sort of check-in in my wrap-ups through the end of the year, seeing what my bingo board looks like. Yeah, there's like not a huge announcement. That's just like kind of what I'll be playing around with and doing through the end of the year, just because it seemed like fun. I'll make sure to post her video in the description because she goes over all the different prompts and tells you like what can fit in there. She is very like lenient in how you can get things to fit these prompts, which I appreciate, especially because I was definitely doing that on Bookopoly already, really stretching myself. So this is actually quite a long wrap up. I haven't done a wrap up this long in a while because I've been doing the vlogs. If you have any thoughts or comments about any of these books, please feel free to leave them in the comments or go watch the vlog where I talk about them more and we can chat in the comments there. Otherwise, I'll see y'all next week with the last September / Bookopoly vlog. Yeah, otherwise, see ya.